All right, we're rolling. So we were talking about algorithms, and one thing I've been doing lately is trying to upload at different days and different times, not only with shorts but with the podcast itself. So we were uploading right after we would podcast, whether it was Friday night or it would be Saturday or even Sunday. Just right afterwards, I'd upload it. And so we've been playing around with uploading like Monday morning at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. and then even the shorts. We've been messing with the length of the shorts and the tags and the time we upload them, just trying to find out if there's any consistency. And we found some consistency, things that actually boost them a little better, and things that don't work. Obviously, we found out that swearing in shorts, they do not get promoted at all.
Really?
Yeah. And yeah, it's amazing how, like you were saying, if you start watching different things, how it starts pushing you. And I don't know about TikTok in particular, but I know with YouTube, it's very short. Like, if you watch a couple drag racing videos on YouTube, it automatically starts showing you more and more. And the more you watch, the more it shows you. So, like, I ride a motorcycle, sport bike. And in the off season, like now, I don't watch a lot of sports bike videos, so they'll fade right out of my algorithm, to my suggestion, I should say, where I don't get any of them. But in the summertime, when I'm riding more motorcycles and I'm viewing more of that content, it just blows up in my suggestion to where, so you can definitely see the wave, how they start suggesting more and more of what you're trying to watch.
Yeah, I've noticed on TikTok that when, at least for me, that in the morning, once I start watching things, then the algorithm seems to start and just rolls with what I'm watching. Where if I'm watching it at night, like after work, it doesn't seem like the algorithm picks up as fast.
Now, the next day, does it reset to what you used to watch, or is it picking up where you started the day before?
No, it almost resets.
Does it?
Yeah.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fascinating. It's interesting.
Yeah, because I can get pretty far deep into a rabbit hole there on TikTok once you start watching one and then another and then another. So I try to scroll through a couple to get it so where it's not all the same thing, and that gives me a little bit more of an option to see things.
But then by the next morning, it's back to where you started not the previous day, but the original, before you started searching something new? Or yeah. Wow, that's weird.
It just kind of pops up with usually it pops up with an ad when you open it of whatever an ad for whatever, and then you just scroll. And
Okay.
I'm assuming it starts with whatever you put in that you like and what you're interested in. I'm assuming that's where it starts.
Huh.
And then,
you know what's odd is I'm on TikTok for my personal account, and I signed up, and then it asks what where do you have interest, and it asks your age. Obviously, you put in your birth date, and it asks your gender, and I put it in, and then it asks what are your interests. You pick like a couple topics of interest to you. So I did, and immediately it gives me 40-year-old single women. That's crazy. It figures that at my age, my interest, it's gonna feed me this right out of the gate.
yeah. That's like all everybody always talking about, the big thing with TikTok and what's going on in the last week or two. And like everybody's talking about mining data, and I'm not smart enough to know what they're mining of my data, but I wish I was smarter to know what they're actually after, because I'm just too dumb to know.
Typically it's interest to sell you ads. So when they say mining your data, in my mind, they're trying to find out what you're interested in so they can point specific ads in your direction so you'll buy products from their advertisers.
Yeah, I'm not dumb enough to fall for that. I buy what I want.
So I know for everybody listening, they probably hear a different voice. So Mike's filling in because my regular co-host had a family emergency and couldn't be here, so Mike's filling in. So we're just gonna roll here. And
I brought your gift. You want your gift?
sure, I can't wait.
Let me know if you know what it is. If not, I can explain it.
Well, it's a patch. Hold it up here. Should I hold it up?
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
There's some Illuminati symbol.
Nope, it's the Boy Scout patch for archery.
No kidding. Oh, that's badass. Thank you. I was in Boy Scouts too.
I like people who have passions, and you seem very passionate about archery. I know nothing about archery, but just listening to the way your passion and you speak about it, you make it interesting.
I'll give you my my personal account when we're off air, and you can follow me over there because I post videos on archery and that. Thank you. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm gonna find a place to put that up in here. Thank you. So
It's
yeah,
only $5. Well, I got
don't care. It's
$30, but I bought it with my Amazon points.
that's okay. That's a thought that counts, man. I didn't expect anything. That's cool. Something like that. I like stuff like that. I dig it, man. So you said you follow politics on TikTok, and I don't. What's that like versus in comparison to like legacy media and how they feed politics? How is it structured on TikTok?
I think that it can be very easy to get sucked into what you're scrolling and looking at. So it's hard to sometimes have a different opinion
Okay.
because they're always showing you the same thing of what you like, what you follow. Like my son said one day to me, he said, you know, my girlfriend's dad and your TikTok are the complete opposite. And I sit there and I listen to him listen to TikTok. It's all left-leaning stuff and left this and left that. When I listen to you, there's always, you know, right-wing stuff and that. That's why I said I was trying to see if I could change it to get it a little more balanced to see. Because I'm interested on how TikTok goes and everybody sharing their ideas and everything. And if I can get it somewhere in the middle, I think that it'd be a lot more beneficial.
Seems like it's a big issue, the whole divide, right? It seems like that just furthers that divide as far as,
right?
You know, you just get stuck in those echo chambers. Like I said, all you're getting fed is, you know, one viewpoint, right? And then you go out and then you'll just share these talking points that you picked up of one biased side instead of like the center where most of us are. The majority of the population is somewhere in the middle of both these sides. But we get fed either one or the other. Like you said, we don't get very many center opinions, you know.
Right.
And there's a lot of good sources out there, and I can ones that I found, and I can point in some of those directions that I found very beneficial. That I think, you know, these people that just have, even though they might have a slight bias, they try to stay focused in the middle, try to see both sides. Because I'll hear a story and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that, you know, like, man, that's crazy, you know, and then it's like, you start looking a little deeper into it. It's like, well, this person clearly embellished to give it a lean in one direction or the other, when that wasn't the whole story, you know. And a lot of headlines are like that, right? Like,
Right. Oh yeah.
just to get you to click on it, they'll put this ridiculous, like, oh my God. Most people don't click on it though. They just run with the headline. They'll say, I read this story. Well, what they really mean is they read a headline from, you know, whether it's right or left leaning media source, right?
Right.
However, they wanted to spin their agenda knowing that most people's attention span is, 15 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And then you get further down into the article and it's like, well, really, it wasn't like that. Like the headline or the first paragraph read,
And usually you got to get halfway through the article before you even get into what it
Right.
actually means. Because like I was looking at on TikTok today, and it said something about Joe Biden's first veto or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
and it's like I got it had the headline and all that stuff, and I got halfway through before it actually started talking about what it actually was.
Yeah, it's a real problem. I think it's a real problem in this country that I think more people are starting to come around as we're seeing more independent, good media sources, and we're getting away from that established corporate or legacy media. As we're fading away from that, it seems like people are starting to look for more honest journalism, more honest fact checking.
I think that like the legacy media and all that, I think it's just entertainment now. I don't even think it's actual news. I mean, there's news in it, but I just feel like it's more entertainment and feeding everybody's anxieties of whatever way you lean, whether it's left or right. I think that they're just constantly feeding you that, and all the doom and gloom, or whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I just take it as entertainment. I don't even think it's real news anymore.
You even see it with the weather. I don't know if you've noticed the weathermen, like even them, it seems like I've noticed in the last couple of years, like the last, I'd say 3 years, it seems like even the weather, like it's just all anxiety and, you gotta watch because we don't know which way the storm's going or how much you're gonna get. You gotta watch this, you gotta watch. It's like they're feeding you anxiety over what used to be a couple inches of snow is now a weather event.
Yep.
And you keep watching, check back at 6:30 because this thing's changing, by the minute, and you need to, you're right. It's almost like they're feeding, they're really preying on people's emotions and their anxiety. Like there isn't enough anxiety in the world, right? With war and, conflict.
I think there's a lot of things that prey on your anxieties. Like there's TV shows I watch a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows, and there's just so many of them that are just anxiety-driven shows that after like 5 episodes, I'm just burnt out because I don't want to watch it anymore because it's the same show every time, just a little bit more of a twist, and they just that's just weird that they have anxiety-driven shows.
I often wonder, these people in media, legacy and corporate media, is there any time that they step back and are like, holy crap, what am I doing? Or do they feel like it's just for the cause? Like, I wonder if that makes sense. Like,
I think it's just we got to get out there ahead of everybody else, and they don't. I'm not gonna say they don't fact check, but I think that they'd rather just get it out there first and then fact check second, or fourth.
And then does the fact check? Where does the fact check end up? So they release a story, and then it comes out, well, that's not really 100% true. And then how many people hear the rebuttal? We might have got this wrong. The majority of people don't even hear.
And they're never going to admit they're wrong.
Well, I think they do, but it's like back page, right? Like it's that old thing, right? Like, back in print, it'd be front page, and then the rebuttal would be 2 days later on the back page, and nobody ever read it, right? And so it just exists in society that first page news is still reality. And so you got a certain percentage of people that run with that because they never saw or never bothered to look into the story to find out, or they don't pursue media that's going to tell them the other side of that story. So then they just run with that as truth, that one story. And then there's other people going, wait a minute, you didn't hear that, that ended up not being true? And they're like, no, it's, what are you talking about? That is true. I heard so and so say it. And they're like, no, actually it came out a week later that that's false. And they're like, no, you're crazy. It's like you get this weird dynamic like that.
It's just odd to me that, like, in my opinion, all right, if you come out with something and it's not 100% right, and then you come out say the next day, hey, this wasn't right, we checked it or whatever, that I would feel that they would be more credible if they're addressing it right away. Hey, we didn't get this right. Because I'd be more inclined to listen more often if you're pointing out your faults, because everybody's wrong,
Right.
at least once.
Right.
And for them, that would just make me feel that they were more credible, that they're actually saying, hey, we made a mistake, or we didn't have all the information yet, but we wanted to get this story to you as fast as we could, and now we have the whole story, and here's the rest.
I think that's how media used to be. There used to be credibility, right?
Yep.
Back in the Tom Brokaw days, back whenever, that's about as far back as I can remember. But today it's just about views, right? It's just about clicks. It's just about, and because we're so tribal and we're so divided, that even if we know our side is a little wrong, we'll still run with it just to support them, because that's our team, right? And we gotta support our team, right?
Yeah, it's just disheartening to know that, like I said, I think the whole entertainment part of it is the clicks and all that stuff, and it's just not. It's hard to trust it.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to trust what they're actually, are they actually trying to get the news out there, or are they actually trying to get the eyeballs on what they're doing?
I think it's just trying to get the eyeballs, just trying to get people to watch, get people to share a narrative, getting people to share stories without really looking into them. And who has the time to, right?
Right.
Who has the time to, out of the 10 things you heard in the news, go through and research them on your own, find credible sources reporting on it, and try to pin. We just don't have the time, and they take advantage of that.
I'm interested to see. I mean, with the internet and everything, I still think the internet's new. Like it's still new. We haven't even scratched the surface of all of it, and there's gonna have to be a way where, because everybody's gonna come out with their own news, there's going to be more independent journalists and more independent fact checkers and on all that stuff to maybe steer the ship in regular media to maybe not go so far as just getting the eyes on it and actually getting back to where it should be.
One, I think there's a hunger for that, and that's what we're seeing today with the rise of these independent media sources. And I think that's 100% driven by people. That's what they want. They're tired of the BS. They're tired of just being manipulated just for clicks and views and getting agitated just to, just to cheer on the team, right? I think that's gonna continue to accelerate to where, this legacy corporate media just kind of fades away. We're seeing it with the job cuts at some of these media companies, to where they're just not getting the views they used to. You're seeing some of these independent media personalities getting more concurrent viewers in their time slot than some of the big media companies are in the same time slot. It's mind-blowing.
Right. I think social media will, if they can get a handle on social media, actually let it be what it could be, instead of letting it be what they want it to be. And I get it; it's their company. If they want to take their company in a direction, but I think that like with the whole Twitter thing and that all, I've noticed that there's more things allowed on Facebook, and there's more things allowed on TikTok, and there's more things allowed because I think they're scared. I think they're truly scared that they're gonna come after them next.
And you said, I get what you're saying. Like you said, you know, it's their company, they can do what they want to do. But when all of them are overwhelmingly leading in one direction, and I don't want to say censoring, but suppressing, so it's hard to find other people. Like I wanted to find Ted Nugent on Instagram. Good luck finding Ted Nugent on Instagram. He is so shadowy. But I had to go to one of my other accounts, find exactly how, if I just type Ted Nugent on Instagram, it would not pop up with him. I had to go to one of my other accounts, find out exactly how it was spelled. Like how he had it, you know, because it's like at Ted underscore. It's not exactly that. I'm just saying, whatever it is, right? At Ted underscore Nugent, whatever it says, right? I had to type it in exactly like that on this other account I'm using. And then it gave me a thing. Are you sure you want to follow this person? Because they're known to spread disinformation and this and that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a little weird to me. Why would you? I'm searching for it. I obviously want to find it. And now you're trying to tell me that I might not want to do it.
Right.
I want to do it. I obviously searched for it.
Right. And the fact that I had to get the spelling exactly right. Anybody else, if I, you know, search, you may not be a good example, but if I wanted to search, you know, something specific, you know, having a hard time finding a good example. Garmin, you know, I wanted to follow Garmin, the GPS company. If I even get close to the spelling, it's going to suggest Garmin to me, right? I don't have to have it Garmin /USA whatever. It's going to, you know, it's going to pop it up, you know. And anybody else I followed, whether, you know, name Joe Rogan, whatever. You start typing Joe, Joe, and then space R, it automatically pops up Joe Rogan, right? So, yeah, I have a problem with that. Like I said, not necessarily censoring, but definitely suppressing and making it hard for people to find people that they don't agree with. And that's an issue.
Now I'm just going to search everybody's name and see who's easy to find and see if it, you know.
Do you have Instagram?
No, I did at one time, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
It was more for my kids.
Yeah.
And like you were talking earlier about, you know, the right time to put the download on your podcast and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like my daughter and her friend taught me. I said I need to get my Instagram cloud up, you know, joking around with them or whatever. And they say, well, you don't post your pictures at the right time. And it's like, what do you mean? And they're like, you got to post your pictures at 8:30 at night. And I was like, why would I post them at 8:30 at night? He said, because that's when we're all on. We're all on at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
All the kids are on at 8 o'clock. So we post between 8 and 8:30. It's because then, you know, everybody sees it. And that whole, you know, everybody wanting the likes and all that stuff. I'm not that kind of person. I don't need likes. It's interesting to see. It's just weird. That whole feeding your ego or feeding your whatever it is for likes, I don't get that at all. Like, no part of me that even.
No, it doesn't motivate me. It doesn't drive me. Obviously, we promote the show on Instagram, and I have a personal account, but I follow people like, you know, David Goggins, Joe Rogan, you know, people that are motivators, that are healthy and, you know, very successful. That's where I find motivation, is just following these people. But
yeah, their discipline is amazing.
Yeah.
So when I had 10% of that discipline.
So when I post something, I'm not posting it because I'm hoping I get likes. I'm posting it because I'm hoping it motivates someone else to go out and do things. Because I try to promote a lot of health and wellness, and I think those things are really important in society. You know, I think we need more of that. And I think it's like anything else. The more that's out there, the more saturated that gets, the less of the bad stuff you see, right?
I was like, today when I was going through TikTok, it said something about, I was scrolling through to change it, you know, and it said something about type 3 diabetes is now dementia. or it had something to do with dementia. I didn't get a chance to look it up. It was right before I came here.
Oh yeah.
But it had like that like type 3 diabetes will almost become dementia. Like
Really?
the definition of dementia will be type 3 diabetes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get a chance to look at it because then it started talking about sugar and I was trying to get everything organized.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll check out when I get home because my grandma had dementia.
Oh, okay.
And so it was just interesting to see because sugar is horrible. I'd
Yeah.
love to not eat sugar, but I can't do it. It's just I always got to have something with sugar.
Yeah.
And I changed the way I live a year ago. And I changed my diet. I have a problem with the word diet because I have a problem with nobody ever explaining anything because I need things explained to me. So when they say, hey, I'm going on a diet, don't go on a diet, just change your diet. And when you change your diet, that doesn't mean you're dieting. You're just changing what you're eating and changing what you're doing. And I like I said, I'm really big on explain it to me because just saying, hey, I'm on a different diet, then everybody just hears diet and they don't want to, oh yeah, I can't do that, or I've tried that, or whatever.
The way I explain it is a diet is something you want to do to trim a couple pounds to lean out for a friend's wedding in 3 months, right? So you'll tweak what you normally do just to get, fit in that tux or fit in that dress if you're a woman, you know what I'm saying? That's how I see a diet. I see what I do as a lifestyle change. I made a choice that I want to live the longest, healthiest life I can. I see too many people around me die too early that didn't need to die. And a lot of it is attributed to what they put in their body and how much they move their body. So I made the decision, like, I haven't eaten fast food in 10 years now. I haven't eaten bread in 8 years. 4 years ago, I cut all sugar out of my diet. Almost all sugar. I consume less than 20 grams of sugar a day. I try to keep my carbohydrates under 200 grams a day. So I'm very disciplined with intermittent fasting. I only eat twice a day. I have a 16-hour window where I don't eat anything. And then I have 2 windows about an hour long where I consume 2 meals, which would be like a late lunch for most people and about a normal dinner time, And then on the weekends, I usually do like a 24-hour fast. I only eat 1 time a day on the weekends, and still maintaining, very, very low sugar intake, very low carbohydrate intake, but I consume a lot of protein, and I try to, I heavily supplement, The list of what I don't take is shorter than the list of stuff I do take as far as supplementation, as far as vitamins,
And out of the 3 things of cutting out sugar and carbohydrates and bread and eating fast food, what one was had the most impact on it? You felt in your body. Which one do you think had the most impact on it?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of all 3. I don't think minimizing one offset. Like, I don't think you could say, well, if I didn't eat fast food, I could still eat bread and sugar. I don't think that is accurate. I think it's a combination of all these things. And I'm not suggesting anybody do this. Talk to your doctor, talk to a dietitian. But then I also work out 5 to 6 days a week also, and I incorporate 3 days of cardio, 3 days of weightlifting, and sleep. I try to get 7+ hours of sleep a night. All these, it's that whole combination, right? And it's finding out what works for your body. I've had to experiment, and I'm still experimenting. I'm still, I'll add some things, take something away. I'm always tweaking, trying to see what effect. Even with supplements, like there are supplements I used to take Monday through Friday, and then I've offset those now, and I only take them Saturday and Sunday, and then I replace something Monday through Friday just to see how my body reacts. And then I get blood tests done with my doctor every 6 months too, to make sure where my D3 is, where my zinc is, where my magnesium is, just, you know, my potassium, where all these things are. And then we make adjustments to my supplementation, you know, accordingly. So, like, you know, I used to take turmeric 5 days a week. Well, now I switch that, and I'm trying to just take the turmeric Saturday and Sunday, and not Monday through Friday, and just see how is there any difference in performance in the gym or running? You know, how does it, you know, is there any difference in my sleep on the weekend? Taking, you know, so it's, you know, again, not medical advice, consult your doctor, but I'm always trying, you know, and I'm always listening to people like Andrew Huberman, you know, David St. Clair, you know, Rhonda Patrick, just these brilliant people that work in these fields, you know, trying to, you know, what's the newest data, you know, what's, you know, what they found out with new research and new studies. So I'm, you know, I really try to stay on top of that stuff, and I try to promote it too, because I, you know, want everybody to live the healthiest life they can, you know.
All right, because I've since May, I've lost 80 pounds.
Wow, congratulations,
And
man.
all I did was, well, not all I did, but the main things I did is I stopped drinking pop, and now I do drink a pop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't drink more than 2 pops. Like if I drink a pop today and a pop tomorrow, I'm not drinking pop for, you know, 3 days. You know what I'm saying? I try to keep control of it.
Good.
But like before, I was drinking 4 or 5 pops a day, and I realized once I stopped drinking the pop that I didn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that made my curiosity. I'm very curious, so it made my curiosity grow of, all right, if I stop doing this, like I stopped drinking milk, and I only eat a little bit of cheese. I love cheese.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I realized when I stopped doing all these little things, it was easier not to go back. Now it's just me, you know what I'm saying? I'm me, and everybody else is different. But I didn't realize, you know, everybody always says, oh, I stopped drinking pop, or I drink diet pop, or, you know, this, that, and the other thing. Like I said, they never shared the information of, oh, well, you know, when I stopped, I didn't want it as much.
Yeah.
And there's times that I just stop thinking about going to get a pop. Like I just drive right past the gas station and not stop on the way home and get the pop. And like I love pizza. Pizza is the #1 food for me.
Yeah.
And I'm also an emotional eater.
Yeah.
So like when I'm on my day off, I'm like, all right, I got the day off. I'm by myself. I can relax. I can watch this movie that just came out. I'll get a pizza. I'll sit down. And I'm sitting down and I'm eating the whole pizza while I watch the movie. Literally the whole pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I just still, because I like to do that, I just eat before I sit down to watch the movie. Because then I can't just eat through the whole movie.
Good idea.
And so I just changed little things like that of just trying to break the cycle, I guess, of all that. And that really seemed to help a lot.
Good job. I mean, that's what it's about, is finding out what works for you. Like, I still eat pizza. When I say fast food, I mean traditional drive-through. You can name you know who I'm talking about, right? 90% of my pizza consumption are homemade pizzas.
Yeah.
We found these super thin crusts in the refrigerated section. I mean, they're literally, you know, they're literally that thick. You know, we roll them out, we put our own topping stuff on there. We usually throw them on the pellet grill outside. And so, but I know I know what's on it because we put all the ingredients on it. A lot of times, you know, if we're putting bacon on it, you know, I fried the bacon, you know. So we can choose the kind of pizza sauce we put on it. We can find the one with the lowest amount of sugar, the one that was used organic tomatoes in it, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, and the cheese, right? We can get organic cheese, you know, so we have I can make a better pizza than I can buy, right? But I can still enjoy pizza. You know what I'm saying?
And when I say I like pizza, I eat. There was probably years that there would be. I would eat pizza every day, literally. Some kind of pizza, a pizza sandwich, an actual pizza. You know, I'd get like something we still eat, but we get chicken and then put the pizza sauce on it, and then put pepperoni on it, and then a little bit of mozzarella on top. So I've shifted more towards eating that because it still gives me the same flavor. It's on chicken, and there's not so much room to put all the other stuff on.
That's one we've been doing a lot in the last, I'd say, year or two. I grill about 5 to 6 pounds of chicken a week for my lunches. So Saturday or Sunday, I'll grill the chicken, and then I have a chicken salad every day for lunch at work. But I grill enough that we've been taking that thin crust, and you can buy sugar-free barbecue sauce. And I preheat the crust just a little bit, just to start the baking process. Then we pull it out, put the barbecue sauce on there, put some of that grilled chicken on there, and then some mozzarella over it, put it back in, let it finish off, pull it out, and then just kind of drizzle some more of that sugar-free barbecue sauce over it. And, oh God, is it delicious. So
Yeah, I just had a fantasy football party with all my buddies from school, and I made a barbecue chicken pizza for the first time. And I get the real frozen dough and make it.
Oh, okay.
And it was amazing. I didn't even, it was just something I never, because I always go pizza sauce, cheese, pepperoni,
Yeah.
banana peppers, all that stuff. And I just decided, well, there's going to be a bunch of us. And I made a barbecue chicken pizza, and it was amazing.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I never thought of it.
And we're talking about bread, and you were talking about things like with the pop that you don't even notice that you miss it. And the same thing happened with bread. Like if I'm gonna have, like if I want tuna on something, we buy these keto wraps, so there's really low carbs, and there's no sugar in them. And so if I want tuna instead of a tuna sandwich, I make a tuna wrap. If I want a ham instead of a ham sandwich, I just make a ham wrap. When I have sloppy joes, I just put it on a wrap, and I don't even notice. I wouldn't even know what it'd be so foreign to eat a piece of bread now, because I haven't had bread in so long. It'd be foreign to me, but there's no craving there. I'm not like, oh man, I wish I had a big peanut butter and jelly sandwich. There's just no craving there for bread. It doesn't even enter my thought.
Because at work, I always have crazy questions, and I asked this girl at work one time, I said, I told her all my crazy ideas and crazy questions and stuff, and I said, is there anything that you think about? And she says, I think about why we eat so much. And I was like, I never really thought about that. And then, so I thought about it, I looked into it, and, it was, when we started, breakfast is the beginning meal and all that stuff. And so then I just went down a rabbit hole of, when did the government try to tell us that we need to eat breakfast? And it was, then, we need to eat, my opinion is they want us to eat breakfast so we have more energy through the day, so we can work more, so we can create more, so they can make more money. And like, cause I don't eat lunch because I'm hungry. I eat lunch because it's lunchtime. I don't eat dinner because I'm hungry. I eat because it's dinner time. And so I started thinking about that all the time. And so now I try to eat when I'm actually hungry. I'm actually eating less, and I don't feel any different. But that triggers in my mind of, why do we eat so much?
Well, I think we eat so much because we have an excess, right? Because our biology still tells us, right? Our biology is still 10,000 years old, right? To where, because it's so readily available, our biology is still telling us, well, eat, because feast or famine, right? Like, we don't know when the next famine's coming, so just eat everything you can now because we're still, again, in that 10,000-year-old mindset of we didn't know when our next meal was going to come. You know, you got to think, we used to wake up, and this is how I picture it in my head. It may not be accurate, so don't get excited out there. But we used to wake up in the morning, we'd go chase game all day till we harvested something, we'd bring it back, and we'd sit down around the fire and cook it and eat it. And we'd wash, rinse, repeat. Because we didn't have a way to store and preserve food. You know, I don't know when they figured out smoked meats and salt and preservatives and all. So if someone can fact check me out there and put in the comments below. But so now we got to this place to where it's just so available, but we still have that old biology of, man, we just don't know where the next meal is going to come from. So we gotta you know, fatten up and, you know, preserve. And it's a mental thing. Our biology hasn't caught up to the current state that we live in. It just takes so long. You know, in breakfast, that's a funny one, and it's something I have to fact check, but I had heard that it came from the farm industry trying to sell more sausage, bacon, and eggs, and that's what drove it. And I think the same thing happened with the orange juice industry. They had a surplus of oranges, so they started convincing us, and orange juice is just horrible. If there's devil's water, it's orange juice, because that's just pure, just sugar water. The damage, I wonder what damage that's done to our society. You know, all these narratives, you know, the fact, you know, the thing about the sugar, like that these scientists were paid by the sugar industry to tell people that it's fats and foods making you fat, not sugar. And those fats and foods are essential to us, you know, and I just wonder how much damage that did to us.
I don't know where I'd have to look it up and all that stuff, but where sugar really started to come into play. But like it just like when I very first started to try to be healthier, I started to walk and I started to not drink as much pop, where I'd only have pop at dinner, and I used to drink a lot of milk, and my sister-in-law said, well, you need to look up how much sugar is in milk. And I think, I don't quite remember, but I think it was almost more than a pop. Like
12 grams per cup.
Yeah.
In a glass of milk. And this is how dumb I am. I didn't find this out till 4 years ago.
Yeah, oh, me too. Like probably maybe
4 years ago, I had no idea. Someone told me about this. I'm like, wait, what? There's sugar in milk? That's how dumb I am. I was like, I came right home, I looked at the container, I was like, holy crap. So now I just drink almond milk, unsweetened almond milk. If I have milk, I don't drink regular milk. I was like, holy crap. Like, same thing, you know, like, thought I, you know, and this is the whole thing. This is why it's like a process, right? You can't figure this all out in one day and just completely flip your life over and wipe your cupboards out and your refrigerator out and just, it takes time. It takes time, conversations like this to figure these things out. It takes years and years and years. And this is, you know, it's never going to end. As far as I can see, just looking back over the last 10 years, it just continues to evolve, and I just keep learning more and more data comes out and more studies, because studies take years and years, right? So it's not like, yeah, so you'll hear them say, hey, we're working on this study, and this is what we're applying, but we don't know what the results are going to be, but we're hoping it's going to be in this direction, but it takes years to find out. You know, so what they're working on today, we're not going to know for 3, 4, 5 years what the results are going to be. So that's why I say it's always changing. It's, you know, I'm just glad that I started figuring this stuff out, hopefully before it's too late.
I've had like none of my dad's brothers survived past 70. They've all died of heart issues. And so when I decided to be more healthy, I went in there and then, you know, talked to the doctor and basically said, you know, I need you to be healthier. You want to be healthier, because I always said I'm going to die at 73. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, you know, in the movie they say today's not my day to die, or I'm going to die at this time. So I said 70. I'm out at 73. I'm good with. I made a peace with myself that 73 is a good age. Now when I get there, I don't know, because you know I might not want to die. But and he said, well, you need to drink more water and eat more vegetables. So that's what I did in May, and that's what got me all the way to where I am now.
That's awesome, man. It was a conversation with my doctor. I was in my, I wish I could remember the exact age I was. I'm going to say like 32, let's just say. And I was in my doctor's office for a sinus infection. I used to get sinus infections a lot, like multiple times a year, getting sinus infections. So I was in there for a sinus infection, and he said, I want to check your urine while you're here. I'm like, all right. So I pissed in a cup. And he come back in, he's like, let's talk about your diet. Whatever. He's like, how much water do you drink? I'm like, whatever's in a Mountain Dew. And he's like, what do you mean? I did not, if it wasn't in coffee, Mountain Dew, or milk, whatever the water was, I didn't drink water outside of that. And he's writing shit down. He's like, what do you eat for breakfast? I'm like, well, sometimes, I don't, or it's a donut or McDonald's. He's like, what's your lunch look like? I said, about the same. He's like, what's dinner like? I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I remember he put his paper down. He's like, and then I was still casually smoking cigarettes, still drinking after work and on the weekends. Then he put his paper down and he asked me, he goes, how long do you want to live? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you better start making some changes now if you want to live any kind of, long life and any kind of quality life as you get older. And I was like, that was the first time, I was like, for whatever reason, it had an impact on me. And in that moment, I started changing, holy shit, he's probably right. I need to start, changing things. So that's when I started, it's just a slow progression. I started, same thing. I started walking, and then I remember I could lightly jog about a quarter mile, and that was it. I was done, bent over, breathing, wanting to puke. Just a quarter mile of a light jog, because I hadn't done anything like that since school, And it just progressed. Then I started, figuring out about nutrition, started looking into that, and, started limiting, fast food was the first thing to go. And then, a couple years later, I found out about bread, and so I eliminated, it's just that, that gradual, progression. And then, May 11th this year will be 4 years since I've had any alcohol at all. Again, just that slow progression, just figuring stuff out. So, yeah, I encourage anybody out there to, look into it, start figuring it out, because
Yeah, it really is up to you, and it's different. What's difficult for me is I don't know what I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying? So, like you talk about it on here, and if there's other things, if people are out there and they're listening to other podcasts, look when you're going through your podcast list, just kind of look for something else to listen to. Don't just constantly just keep listening to what you're listening to. Find other things, because, like I said, it's all about information for me, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right, exactly.
And, like you said, the doctor said, how long do you want to live for?
Yeah.
Well, my doctor said the same thing. But he said nothing about quality of life. He, because we were having the conversation of, me dying at 73.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the conversation of quality of life. And yeah, you can, eat healthier and live to 73, but how well are you going to live to 73?
Right. And that's what I'm hoping for, is to have good quality of life all the way to the end. You know what I'm saying? I want to have my mind, my body. You look, I don't know your dad, okay? But if you look, I think we're around the same age. If you look at when we were young, 9, 10 years old, and we looked at 50 or 60-year-old men, they looked like they were almost dead. They were all bald, pot-bellied, they sat around the garage drinking beer. You look at a 55, 60-year-old man today, and they look like they're in their 40s. They're lean, they're healthy. there's one good thing about the internet and social media and tech and the technology that we have today is that there's no more gatekeepers. This information's out there for any of us to find, and in most places it's free. 20 years ago you had to pay people. I can't even imagine trying to seek out the information that's just a click away now for us. Like I said, check out Andrew Huberman, David St. Clair, Rhonda Patrick. I wish I could remember them all. There's so many good sources out there for health and nutrition and fitness. YouTube is a great, excuse me, at least once a week, there's some YouTubers, fitness YouTubers I watch, and I try to incorporate one new thing every week at the gym. One new thing, whether it's whatever it is, whether it's legs, abs, shoulders, one workout. I want to incorporate something new they found out, that's a better workout for a specific muscle group. I've incorporated bar hangs to where at the end of my workout, every time at the gym religiously, I go over to the bars and I just hang. And I do it 4 times. I try to do it at least 1 minute every time. I've seen a study come out about a correlation between grip strength and how long you live. And they're not exactly sure why, but there is a correlation to the more grip strength you have, the longer you live. There's a theory that it's in falling, that people that are going to fall, they catch themselves before they tumble all the way. So I started working on grip strength, where you take 2 dumbbells and you hold them by the tops, not cupped underneath, but just using the pressure of your fingers and stand there and just hold them and hold them and hold until they almost want to slip, working on grip strength, so like I said, I'm always trying to find something new, something just to, look. I don't know. It's something I'm passionate about because I want everybody to live long, healthy lives. I've seen too many people die too early in my life that I think could have lived longer had they had better information, had they had somebody out there, explaining these things to them. And I'm not, again, that's why I recommend these other people, because there's people, I'm a moron, okay? Right. Don't do anything I say. I'm just saying, seek these people out because there's so much good information and it's available to all of us. I'm sure TikTok is probably a great resource for health and fitness. I'm sure there's really good people on there that are loaded with knowledge on nutrition and supplementation and workouts and
Yeah, I think that there's a lot. One thing that I like about this generation of children or kids, I call them kids because my kids are 20, but they're more into themselves, not like selfishly, but they're more caring towards themselves and worried about themselves and like the mental side of everything. And I think that that's part of like you were saying about guys that were in their 50s when we were young, that they go out, they work on their cars and have a beer and whatever. And I was thinking about it a couple of weeks ago, guys don't have a real good grasp on sharing their feelings. Mm-hmm. And back then, they really didn't have a grasp on it. So I was thinking, so did they go, because guys always have a thing. Every guy always has a thing, whether it's sports, hunting, driving, cars, whatever. And I was trying to figure out if there's any correlation between having your thing so you don't have to share your feelings. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I kind of got it off the fact that I have a video game that I play, and that's my soothing, and I played the same game for 10 years. And I realized, well, maybe I'm just not processing what I need to process, and I'm trying to drown it away with the video game, or drowning it away with working on the car, or And so I was really thinking about that if because I feel that as men we share our feelings a lot more, not nearly any as much as we should.
Yeah.
But that's still, that I don't know if I'd ever be able to get, because I'm still guarded. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
There's still things that I have a hard time talking about with my own life.
Sure.
And that I don't know exactly why or where that came from, but I feel it slowly going away as these generations come up.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's more accepted, it's more talked about now. Maybe, again, that information, that free flow of information. Maybe there's more resources. Maybe there's more people on there communicating these things, so they realize, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one doing this, because they can watch other people do it. A guest we had on, Adam, episode 10. Same thing, like, he openly talks about how, you know, his previous marriage was, you know, it was a struggle, and he video gamed, same thing, right? Like, he went to work, he went home, and he video gamed just to, you know, not have to deal with what was going on at home and deal on whatever he was internalizing. And once he started getting a divorce, and he was forced to kind of stop video gaming, because now he had the responsibilities of, you know, getting his own place and taking care of his kids, you know, having them and stuff. And like, he became a different person. I saw this transformation to where, you know, he wasn't, because I think he dealt with, you know, what he was forced to deal with whatever had been bugging him, or, you know, he had been dealing with all that time, that he was using the video game as the avoidance, right? And so, yeah, I think there is something to that.
I don't know what it is that. I mean, I know for me, I don't even know for me what it is that makes me struggle with things, like the fact of, I mean, I know I have my own personal hangups and stuff like that, as far as like I don't hear well, so it's hard for me to go to the doctor now because they all wear masks.
Yeah.
So I got to constantly say what, on top of already however many times I already say what on any given day. But I've lived with hard hearing my whole entire life, and now I went when I was going through that whole health check and everything. They said, well, the doctor said, well, let's check your hearing, and I went and got my hearing checked, and the audiologist is like, how do you even hear anybody? And this was like right in the middle of the pandemic, where everybody is wearing a mask. Like, there's nobody not wearing a mask. And you know, I work in the grocery stores, the big grocery stores. So I'm always around people. And he says, I don't even know how you hear people. And I said, I've just done it my whole life, and I it's taken me surprisingly. I would, during the pandemic, I stopped looking at people because I had to focus on what they were saying, because I couldn't see their lips and I couldn't see their facial expressions. So I was constantly doing this.
Okay.
And I did this for a year and a half. Okay. And it's still hard for me to be social sometimes, because I have to stop myself from doing this and not looking at them, and and it just seems off-putting to everybody. But that's how I had to do it during that pandemic, with everybody on masks and hearing and all that stuff. And so that's part of my issues of going to the doctor and talking to him and all that stuff. It's a little bit of a struggle, but I still keep going.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's good. You found a way to work through that. Yeah. Not everybody's that resilient. Earlier you were talking about Ice Age.
Oh, Ice Age, yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to, I don't know if it was on YouTube or TikTok today, but they were talking about the rotation of the Earth and the axis, and when it stops, that the sun shines on the Earth for 3 days, and it should stop for 3 days. So the sun would shine on the Earth for 3 days, and then the other side of the Earth would basically freeze.
Okay.
And it said, that happens like every 12,000 years. I don't know exactly what it is because I'm an idiot. But, and then it's almost time for it to do that.
Yeah.
And so if there's an ice age and it freezes for 3 days, I was thinking, I wonder how long that ice age is going to last for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know it freezes, but I think when the rotation starts back up, it would thaw back out once the rotation restarted.
Right.
It sounds like the next ice age, I think, would come from an impact again, or a massive eruption, something that would block the sun completely out. The interesting thing about the rotation stopping, I don't know if they talked about this in there, but when the Earth stops, the water doesn't stop.
Yeah.
The water keeps moving and floods a certain portion of the land.
Right. And that you know, then that only takes me down the rabbit hole of see, like my ideas and my theories that keep me busy at work in my mind is so you have the Bible and you have the Great Flood.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Great Flood happens and it floods the planet. And then the water all goes away. And what I thought today was, well, if the rotation stops, then one side of the planet is going to flood.
Yeah.
And that would be the Great Flood.
Yeah.
So just to think of that, how much land was out there and is out there, because when in my belief system, you know, and then what I've learned and stuff, there was Pangea, and it was on one side of the Earth. It was all one here.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me, you know, flat Earth. Everybody goes crazy about flat Earth, but my opinion is that we are flat on the Earth. I think there's all this water over here that we don't even know about. And because, so if you have the Great Flood and it breaks up Pangea, you're telling me that in 40 days that all of Pangea broke up and went all around the Earth?
Well, I don't know.
That's something that I think about.
Yeah.
You know, you think,
Yeah,
but it does make sense that it spreads out on one side of the Earth and we're all right here.
Yeah.
But like I said, those are just crazy things that I think about.
No, that's okay. Yeah, man.
And like I said, with the ice age, you know, down in Antarctica, there's land. There's got to be land down there. So if it thawed out, there's land down there, and whose land is it? It's whoever gets there first, right?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if there is land there.
But you know, if this stops the rotation and all the water goes to one side, we may have new land masses.
Yeah, I guess I've never thought about it. Well, there you go. Bring soap some. Go.
You know, if there's, like I said, if there's land down there, whose land is it, and how, and you know that that if they think that there's going to be an ice age and they think that there's going to be this rotation and stuff, that they're gonna have to. You know, I feel that everybody has a plan for everything.
So the frozen southern continent can look pretty flat and featureless from above, but beneath the ice pack that's accumulated over the eons, there's an ancient continent as textured as any other. And that texture turns out to be very important for predicting how and when ice will flow and which regions of ice are most vulnerable in a warming world. No shit, there's a map of it. That's what it looks like underneath there. Ooh, yeah, whose land is it?
And what was it?
You
know,
it'll be interesting.
Maybe Antarctica wasn't always frozen.
Well, we know it wasn't, right?
Right.
When the dinosaurs, gosh, I'm gonna have to look
All-
that up. I believe when the
resources that are
dinosaurs,
there,
I believe when the dinosaurs were walking, there was no ice on either of the poles.
that was one thing that I learned this topic, but I learned just what talking about, just learning things a couple years ago and things like that. I just learned that fossil fuels are not fossil fuels. It's actually vegetation that it's the oil and all that stuff. And then, like I said, it takes me down the rabbit hole of there's got to be enough oil for anything that we need, because if they could figure out how to use water as fuel, they would have already done. Like, there's more water than there is oil.
Oh. Hmm. There you go.
Right?
I thought I'd
Caps.
let me bring that up there so people can see that. Dinosaurs lived for roughly 160 million years. When we think about the climate they lived in, we often assume it was either hot and dry or hot and muggy. In fact, I saw it somewhere. Did you see it in there where it said there was no ice on? I saw it in the... somewhere I saw... You see it in there anywhere?
Yeah, I don't see it. I seen it when
I seen it in the beginning. I must just
like we were talking way earlier at the beginning of it. You seen it there, but now you don't see it.
Yeah. Sorry to those just listening. I'm just trying to find
Supercontinent was
this.
called Pangea. There were no ice caps except for coastal areas.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Much of the land was indeed dry. Temperatures were between 80 degrees Fahrenheit with little fluctuation. Which makes sense, I mean, for Pangea.
There were no ice caps.
If you got one big giant continent, like the outside would be where the ice is.
No, there are no ice caps. So yeah, what does that? Yeah, what does that look? You're right. What if they find ancient civilizations under that ice?
Yeah.
You know, that'd be interesting. Yeah, where was it? Where does it fit into Pangea? You know what I'm saying? Like where? What part of that broke off and ended up down there? It is interesting.
Like I said, if we don't know anything, first of all, we don't know anything. We only know what we made up.
Right.
Really. And so if you have, like I said, if you have Pangea and it breaks up, which I have a buddy of mine who's an engineer, and he says, and he's really strong on his faith, like super strong on his faith. And he says there's no way that Pangea existed because you can't move land like that. And my thought is always, okay, but you have such a strong faith and God can do anything, then God can move whatever he wants.
Right.
So why can't Pangea exist?
Well, and why do they fit together so good?
Yeah.
If you bring them back together, why do they fit together so good if they weren't together at one time? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And they're still moving, right? We can still measure them that they're moving.
Yeah, because I just seen like there's a crack in Africa. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, there's a crack. Look up the crack in Africa. And that, like, they figure like in 100 million years, like that Africa's going to be 2 continents.
Let's see.
Yep, there it is. Because they figure as it gets larger that it will fill with water.
Let's get out of there. Let's see. Oh, around the Horn of Africa too.
Yeah.
I'll bring that up so you can see it. No kidding. A large crack stretching several kilometers made a sudden appearance recently in southwestern Kenya. This is from 2018. Oh, no, I never heard about this. The tear, which continues to grow, caused part of the... I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Highway to collapse and was accompanied by seismic activity in the area. Get out of there. The Earth is an ever-changing planet, even though in some respects change might be almost unnoticeable to us. plate tectonics is a good example of this, but every now and again, something dramatic happens and leads to renewed questions about the African continent splitting in two. No kidding.
So if we make it to 100 million years, I don't even know if that's what it was with 100 million, but it had a timetable on there of when it would be two continents. Yeah, that's crazy.
Let's see. It says down here.
Yeah, the breakup with South America and Africa.
138 million years ago. Yeah, continent rifting requires the existence of existential forces great enough to break the lithosphere. Oh, there you go. There's a little diagram of how it happens, how it's occurring. It says evidence for the existence of this hotter than normal mantle plume has been found in geophysical data and is often referred to as the African superswell. Ranking up isn't easy.
You know, they've been saying California's going to do that forever.
Yeah, the San Andreas there, right? Is that the big fault line?
Yeah, San Andreas.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, see, I learned something new today. That's cool. Do you ever get into the younger Dryas impact?
No.
That'd be a good one for you to go down. I think it's younger Dryas. I want to say Randall Carlson. I get them confused. Yeah, I always get those two guys confused. So let's go to YouTube and watch a little video on it and get the gist of it. Because I would get a moron. I'd butcher it if I tried explaining it. When it decides to load.
Yeah, I've just recently come to the conclusion that the world will not explode. And like in my faith, God will not let the world explode. I'm very, I don't want to say paranoid, but it eases my anxiety to know that God would not let the planet explode. So I don't have to worry about the planet actually exploding.
Yeah, this is Randall Carlson.
So in this way, we're connected with events of 12,800 years ago and events today because we're still in relationship with this stream. And what we know is, what the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis proposes is that the encounters, the encounter with this particularly lumpy part of the Taurid meteor stream 12,800 years ago led to a sort of swarm of debris hitting the Earth. And as the Earth is rotating, that swarm of debris moves eastward. Right across the surface of the planet is evidence of this Younger Dryas impacts. And it immediately causes radical climate change. That's because of the ice water coming off the North American ice cap, from those big impacts on the North American ice cap. There's a mystery at the beginning of the Younger Dryas, 12,800 years ago, because global temperatures plunge,
Say 12,000
but at the
years
same
ago.
time you get sea level rise, a sudden sea level rise. Work of Cesare Emiliani. You wouldn't expect that during a period of freezing temperatures. You'd expect excess water to stay frozen on the ice caps, not to enter the world ocean. So what this speaks to is a great amount of heat and shock which was unleashed on the North American ice cap and caused this icy water to pour into the world ocean. One of the things that icy water did was to stop the Gulf Stream dead in its tracks. The Gulf Stream is part of what's called the global meridional overturning circulation. It's the central heating system of our planet. It's one of the things that keeps our planet warm. And plunging unspeakable millions of tons of freezing water into the Gulf Stream cut it completely. And for the next 1,200 years, there was no Gulf Stream, and the world went into this frozen episode. And that's when all the megafauna died off. That's when the saber-toothed tigers, the woolly rhinos, the mammoths, the mastodons, the giant sloths, they all went extinct during that period. Not because they were overhunted by human hunters, but because of a global cataclysm that took place at that time. It was a time when there's clear evidence of a massive shrinking of human population. Population goes through a bottleneck at that time. It was clearly a devastating event in every way. Now, there may be other explanations for it. What's not in dispute is that the episode that we now call the Younger Dryas, and again I'll give the dates, between 12,800 and 11,600 years ago. It's an episode, it's not a moment, it unfolds over a considerable period. What is absolutely clear, and nobody disputes, is that the Younger Dryas was a true global cataclysm on an enormous scale. There are some arguments about what caused it. I accept that. Some people think that it might have been to do with solar activity. But I think the evidence that the Comet Research Group, and there's now more than 100 scientists working on this, I think the evidence that they've put forward is the most compelling. And it explains this situation best of all, that we ran into the debris trail of a disintegrating comet, that there were air bursts all over the Earth, that it changed global climate radically and led to the extinction of the megafauna, and I would say to the loss of a civilization that existed during the Ice Age. Now, the interesting thing is that when the Younger Dryas comes to an end, it comes to an end 11,600 years ago, and it's equally dramatic. Just as global temperatures plunged 12,800 years ago, 11,600 years ago they shoot up almost to modern levels. And then there's a truly massive rise in sea level. That's called meltwater pulse 1b, that takes place 11,600 years ago. And one of the things that interests me about that, and that my archaeological critics find most annoying, is that 11,600 years ago, before our time, let's call it 9,600 BC, is precisely the date that Plato gives us for the destruction and submergence of the lost civilization of Atlantis. Whenever you say Atlantis to archaeologists, they roll their eyes and laugh hysterically. But the fact
I'll let you deep dive into that further, but Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock are both, really good people to look up, and, if you want to deep dive into this. But there are even theories now that there's an even more advanced civilization than we currently are. I was ignorant to the fact for the majority of my life that I was told in school that they didn't know exactly how they built the pyramid, but with modern technologies we could duplicate them. That's bullshit. We can't duplicate the pyramids right now. We cannot build it. We do not have the equipment. We do not have the knowledge how to place those blocks and build that structure. They did it.
Right.
They did it somehow.
Yeah, I always, because my son always talked about that when he was younger in school. And I always just said, well, it was just slave labor. They just made him do it. They got millions of people and made him do it. That's the only thing that I can think of.
Yeah.
But now, no, I believe that we've done all this before.
Yeah.
Like something can happen and just wipe the human race down to 10,000 people, whatever number you want to put it on. You can wipe it all out, and then it just all builds right back up.
Yeah.
Just like the Great Flood or anything like that. If the flood became about and then went away, there's no reason that all that stuff is now 5-6 miles under the earth.
Well, not only that, but we know things biodegrade, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how long, again, I'm ignorant, okay? I don't know how long it would take an iPhone to biodegrade, right? Maybe 12,000 years is enough time that there wouldn't be anything left for us to find. Because we find pottery, we find stones, we find bone tools, whatever, right?
Right.
But we know that the rest of this shit just biodegrades, right? Like, eventually, where we're at right now, you give it enough time and you would never know this was here because it's not built out of stone. It's just Mother Nature would take it back and it would just dissolve back into the earth. It just wouldn't be here anymore. I don't know how long it'd take this monitor or these cameras. I don't know. But there is a number. There is a time they'd be gone.
So then my thought is, do we just become cavemen?
Well, right, because
We don't have anything else to do but become cavemen, the ones that survive.
Right, because what happens? There's a catastrophic event, right? It's survival. It just comes to all the knowledge. Nobody cares about knowledge at that point. It's just surviving, right? So that knowledge gets lost, and you're right. We revert back to the basics. It's just survival. It's just, and then I think it's the knowledge is lost to a certain point, and then it starts getting rebuilt again, right? We just go backwards so far. We're wearing loincloths, throwing spears again, right? And then we slowly pick back up. And there's a lot of theories out there that, this technology, I gotta click off this, it's lagging us. This technology get so good that we start getting too godlike, and God's like, too close, shitheads, It's time to send you back to where you came from, to where you started, because you're getting too close to interstellar travel, whatever, what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. We didn't even touch on aliens.
Aliens don't exist. I mean, and I got a buddy that I used to work with, and he said if aliens, because aliens can exist. In my faith, aliens don't exist. God created us and only us. Am I naive to think that that's not possible? I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible. But he always said if there is an alien, because he's really strong in his faith as well, and he said if there is an alien, it would be a bacteria. It's all right. Well, we could start there, But as far as aliens,
so what? Okay. So he said God made us. God made man in His image, right?
Yep.
Does it say that God only made man on this one place, on all this vast emptiness that we can't even, it doesn't even register in our brains the next place that can sustain life, how far away that is to us, how close that is, how far away that is to us, however you want to say it.
Yes.
We can't, you can't even, it's hard to even wrap your head around that distance, right?
Right.
So, does it say that He only made it, God only made man in this one spot in all this vastness? I don't know.
I mean, it depends on how far you want me to go down the rabbit hole, because I think that there's multiple universes, and that, so say you hurt yourself, or say you go to bed and you wake up and you're like, man, my elbow really hurts today. How do you know other universe you didn't break their elbow? These are just things I think of. Because it's even right here in my little notes here, that in the Bible it says, in the beginning God created the heaven and earth. There's an S, plural, and heavens. Why is it plural? My idea is it's plural because there's different levels in different universes.
Mm-hmm.
And, they talk about by the Mandela effect, and that's just slipping in and out of universes, and who knows? I mean, that does, but like I said, it really all depends on how far you want to go down of where. But that just,
when I think of aliens, I don't think of a species different than us, just a more advanced. They just have 1,000-year head start on us, right? Imagine us 1,000 years from now, if we're already here, and you know how the exponential growth of technology, how rapidly it's evolving now, right? What does it look like 1,000 years from now if we don't all kill ourselves, right? Or there isn't an impact or a super volcano or whatever, right? What does just 1,000 years look like, right? And some have speculated that, the archetypal alien, the gray, the big narrow, the big head with the narrow face, the 3 long dangly fingers, the real spindly, weak body. And then you look at we're trying to figure out our own sexuality here. We don't know, are we boy, are we girl, and they seem not to have a sex, identifiable sex. We can't tell really if they're male or female. What if this is a trajectory that, you know, they're just 1,000 years ahead of us, and that's what we kind of become, that we figure out a different way to breed, you know, whether it's in pods, you know, to grow babies in these incubators, whatever. What if it's just a more advanced? And then I don't remember the theory that when a civilization gets to a point they can travel and find another civilization, they destroy themselves. So say ship did land in Roswell, right? What if that was the end of that species? Because however long it took for them to travel from where they were to get here, they destroyed themselves back on whatever planet it was, so there were no more coming. Like, they were the only ones, and they crashed here, and they're dead, and that's why we haven't seen any
They could
more.
have just been out there exploring, and like if we went out and explored, by the time we come back, we're all dead.
Yeah.
Like everybody that sent them out to explore, unless they find a way to travel. I don't even know how you would begin to do that, because like
Right.
time travel, I don't believe in time travel either. That's not possible.
Not yet, anyways.
No, I don't think it is at all. Like, how could you? Like, my whole thing with time travel is, okay, so if, say time travel exists right now, I believe that there's no such thing as time.
It's a human construct, right?
Duration.
Right. Time is just a human construct. It's just
So-
something we use to identify and track our progress through the day, so we know when to do certain things, and just to keep a cohesive, organized society. It doesn't exist anywhere. Time is just a human construct. It's just something we invented to track ourselves and our
So if you
progress.
have duration,
Yeah.
so you go back in time. So if I go back and say future me goes back in time, I'd be standing right here. I'm not going to see me, and you're not going to see me, because this is already happening and continue to happen through the end of duration. So this moment that we're having right now, in my mind, will forever happen. So if I come back in time and I want to move that hat off the wall, I can't do it because it's stuck in that time. And if I wanted to leave something on this desk, me right now is not going to see it, because that's in his time, quote unquote. And to actually get time travel, I can't see how it's even possible, because you'd have to have like GPS coordinates, and like if
So
you have to be able to see there before you get there. You know what I'm saying? Because if I time travel right now, I could time travel into that wall, and then I'm stuck in that wall, half in and half out. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to see there before you get there.
but we're seeing it through the knowledge we have today is a problem, right? And
Right.
and we do this with a lot of things. We look reading the Bible, right? So I'm doing the Bible in a year right now.
Okay.
I'm listening to the Bible in a year podcast. And Father Mike on there gives commentary at the end of each day on what he read, and like a breakdown. And I'm glad he does, because again, I'm a moron, so it helps me understand what the reading was. And early on he said, you got to understand, you can't look through it through your eyes today. You have to look through the context of thousands of years ago and how people communicated, how people act. This is very early man. God's handing down the most basic laws of what to do and not what to do. You can't look through it 4,000 years later of everything we know now and go, well, that doesn't make sense. Why would he say this or that? You really got it. And we do this with a lot of things, right? 100 years ago, we thought we'd figured out everything there was to figure out, right? And now today, we think we got it all figured out. And 100 years from now, they're going to look back at us today and be like, God, they didn't know shit. You know?
Idiots.
Right. You know, and it's just because we only know what we know in the moment. So time travel, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson. I saw him do a good, the easiest way for my brain to interpret it. He was like, it'll probably be messages sent on light. Because he said, think of a star, right? The star that you see, burned out hundreds of thousands of years ago, but that light's still traveling. So if you had a message on that light, you can receive it way later, even though something happened a long time ago. You can receive that message later, right? So he believed like that would be. And I'm butchering this, so you guys can find it out there and look it up. And he just the way he explained it, it made sense how you could possibly send messages on light because of how light travels and the speed it travels at, for the future or the past, I guess. So you drop it in this device and it would and it wouldn't start working until they figured it out, but you wouldn't be able to go forward. The messages would only be able to go back, I believe, is the way he explained it. But I don't know that we could hop in a machine,
I mean, I guess if you were traveling on light, I guess.
Yeah,
you might be able to see where you're going before you get there.
Yeah, because if you could travel at light speed, right, you could go someplace and come back. God, I'm too dumb to be able to sit here and figure this out in real time. Yeah, I don't know. Again, do the research. So it was interesting the way he broke it down and explained it. What do you think, man? We did an hour and a half.
If you're ready to be done, we can be done.
I really appreciate you filling in short notice. We're planning on both having you here, and we're gonna have you back. So we can get into some more stuff. But I really appreciate you on short notice filling in and jumping in here. You did a great job. It was fun. We had a good conversation.
Yeah, it was good.
Make sure you guys you found some value here. Like, share, subscribe. Man, that's it. Be kind to each other. Thanks, guys.